Hi, everyone. Get ready for a super fun story that's going to grab your attention right from the start. Picture this: it was a warm summer night, the kind where the air feels soft and cozy, perfect for sitting outside with a big bowl of popcorn and watching a movie under the twinkling stars. That's what I was thinking, at least. My name's Jake, and I'm just a normal guy who really loves movies. I'm not a superhero or a big-time adventurer, just a regular dude who likes a good story on the screen. So, here's what I did. I got this cool new outdoor movie screen, not a giant one like at the theater, but a nice one that I could set up in my backyard. It wasn't anything crazy or super expensive. I just grabbed some stuff I had, like a projector that throws the movie onto the screen, a few strings of little lights to make it look fun, and some chairs for my friends to sit on. I dragged the chairs out from the garage, set them up in a row, and plugged everything in. My plan was simple: invite my buddies over, pop some popcorn in the microwave, and watch a classic action movie, the kind with fast cars, big explosions, and a hero who saves the day. We'd laugh, eat snacks, and just chill out. Easy, right? That's what I thought. It sounded like the perfect night. But here's the thing: not everyone was happy about my idea. Nope, not at all. Someone was watching me, and they didn't like what I was doing one bit. I didn't know it yet, but trouble was already sneaking up on me, quiet as a shadow. Who was it? Oh, you're going to find out soon, I promise. It's someone who's going to make the story wild and crazy. But for now, let's just say I had no idea what was coming. My backyard was all set, the popcorn was ready, and the movie was about to start. Everything seemed perfect until it wasn't. Let me paint the picture for you. My house is in a little neighborhood where all the homes sit close together. There's green grass, some trees, and fences between the yards. It's a nice place, usually quiet, with kids riding bikes and dogs barking sometimes. My backyard isn't huge, but it's big enough for my movie night. I had the screen up against the back fence, the projector sitting on a little table, and those tiny lights strung up so it felt like a party. My friends Mike, Sam, and Tara were on their way over. I could almost hear the movie music starting in my head. I was so excited. But while I was busy getting everything ready, someone else was peeking out their window. They were watching me, their eyes squinting like they were mad. I didn't see them yet, but they saw me hooking up the cords, moving the chairs, testing the projector to make sure the picture looked good. They didn't say anything right away, but they were already making a plan. A plan to mess up my night. Who could it be? A grumpy old man? A nosy kid? Someone with a big secret? You'll have to keep reading to find out, because I'm not telling you just yet. Here's a little question for you, though: have you ever had a neighbor who just couldn't mind their own business? You know, the kind of person who's always watching what you're doing, sticking their nose where it doesn't belong? Maybe they complain if your dog barks too loud or if your music's up a tiny bit. I bet you've got a story like that. Drop it in the comments below, I'd love to hear about it. Neighbors can be so funny sometimes, right? Well, my neighbor was about to take funny to a whole new level. So, back to that night. The sun was going down, turning the sky all orange and pink. It was getting dark, and the stars were starting to pop out, one by one. I turned on the projector, and the movie screen lit up with the opening scene. The sound wasn't even loud, just enough for me and my friends to hear. I wasn't trying to bother anyone. I just wanted to have some fun. My popcorn was sitting in a big bowl, all buttery and warm. I grabbed a handful and smiled. This was going to be awesome, I thought. My buddies would be here any minute, and we'd kick back and enjoy the show. But that's when I heard a little noise from across the fence. Not a big noise, just a huff, like someone was annoyed. I turned my head, but I didn't see anything at first. The bushes over there rustled a tiny bit, and I squinted into the dark. "Hello?" I called out, just to check. No answer. Maybe it was a cat or the wind, I told myself. I shrugged and went back to my setup, making sure the chairs were straight. I didn't know it yet, but that huff was the first clue. Someone wasn't just annoyed, they were about to make a big fuss. My friends showed up right on time. Mike had a goofy grin, carrying a bag of chips. Sam waved and plopped into a chair, already asking what movie we were watching. Tara laughed and said she hoped it had explosions. "Oh, it's got explosions," I promised them. We were all ready to have a great time. The movie started, and the hero was zooming down the road in a fast car. Boom. A car blew up on screen, and we cheered. It was loud on the movie, but not in real life. I kept the volume low so it wouldn't bug anyone. I'm a good neighbor like that. Still, that feeling stuck with me. Someone was out there, watching. I didn't know who, but I could almost feel their grumpy stare. My backyard was my space, and I wasn't doing anything wrong. So why did it feel like a storm was coming? Maybe because it was. Not a real storm with rain and thunder, but a different kind, one with yelling and drama and a big surprise I never saw coming. Who do you think was watching me? Any guesses? Hang on tight, because this story's about to get wild. Before we go any further, let me ask you again, where are you reading this from today? Are you at home, curled up with a snack? Maybe outside, like I was that night? Tell me in the comments, and if you like stories with twists and turns, hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what happens next. My movie night was about to turn into something way bigger than I planned, all because of one person who couldn't leave me alone. Stick around, I'm just getting started. Okay, so my movie night was all set up, and everything was going great until she showed up. Her name's Karen, and if you've ever had a super nosy neighbor, you'll know exactly what I mean. Karen's the kind of person who's always looking over fences, spying on everyone, and complaining about every little thing. She's like the boss of our neighborhood group, the HOA, you know, the people who make rules about how your yard should look or what you can do. Karen loves those rules. She carries the HOA rulebook around like it's a shiny crown or a magic wand, waving it at anyone who dares to have fun. That night, while my friends and I were just starting the movie, Karen came stomping over to my backyard. She didn't walk, she stormed, like a big, angry cloud ready to rain all over my fun. Her phone was already in her hand, clutched tight, and her face was all scrunched up like she'd just smelled something bad. She stopped right at the edge of my yard, pointed at my movie screen, and yelled, "This is a violation." Her voice was so loud, I bet the whole street heard her. She acted like my screen was some kind of terrible crime, like I'd robbed a bank or something. "I'm calling 911, she shrieked. "This noise is ruining the neighborhood." I blinked at her, trying to figure out what she was so mad about. Noise? What noise? The movie was on, sure, but I'd kept it quiet. My friends and I could hear it just fine, but it wasn't blasting. I didn't want to bug anyone. "Karen," I said, keeping my voice nice and calm, "it's just a movie. It's not even loud." I pointed at the screen, where the hero was driving a car, not too loud, just some engine sounds and a little music. I thought maybe if I explained, she'd chill out. But nope, Karen wasn't having it. She didn't even listen to me. Her eyes got all narrow, like a cat about to pounce, and she held up her phone with a sneaky little smirk on her face. She started dialing 9-1-1 right there in front of me. My friends stopped munching their popcorn and stared. Mike whispered, "Is she serious?" Tara giggled, but I didn't laugh. I just watched Karen, wondering why she was making such a big deal out of nothing. Calling the police? For a movie? It sounded silly, but that's Karen for you. She loves drama. She's the kind of person who'd call the cops if your grass grew too tall or if your dog barked once. And there she was, tapping her foot, waiting for someone to answer her call, acting like she'd just caught me doing something awful. But here's the thing Karen didn't know, trouble was already on its way, not for me, but for her. Yep, while she was busy yelling at me and dialing her phone, something else was happening. Something big. She had no idea, but I was starting to feel like this night wasn't going to go the way she planned. Can you guess what was coming her way? Think about it for a second. What could turn this whole thing upside down? I'll give you a hint, it's not what Karen expected at all. Let me tell you a bit more about Karen so you get the picture. She's lived next door forever, and she's always been the bossy type. If you park your bike in the wrong spot, she's there with her rulebook. If you laugh too loud, she's knocking on your door. One time, she told my buddy Sam he couldn't have a barbecue because the smoke might bother her flowers. Her flowers? She's got this perfect little house with a white fence and a yard that looks like a picture in a magazine. Everything's neat and tidy, and she wants everyone else to be the same way. That's why my movie screen made her so mad it wasn't part of her perfect plan. So there I was, standing in my backyard, trying to keep things cool. Karen, I said again, it's not a big deal. We're just having fun. I even smiled a little, hoping she'd back off. But her smirk just got bigger. She held the phone to her ear and said, "Yes, hello, I need the police. There's a disturbance." A disturbance? I almost laughed. My movie wasn't disturbing anyone except her, I guess. My friends were whispering now, watching her like she was the show, not the movie. Sam leaned over and said, "She's nuts, man." I nodded, but I still felt a little nervous. What if the cops really showed up? What would they say about my movie night? Karen kept talking into her phone, her voice all high and squeaky. "Yes, it's loud. It's ruining everything," she said. I shook my head. It wasn't loud. I'd checked the volume 3 times just to be sure. I didn't want trouble. I just wanted to watch my movie with my buddies. But Karen didn't care about that. She wanted to win, to be right, to make me stop. She stood there, pointing at my screen like it was her enemy, her flip-flops slapping the ground as she paced back and forth. She thought she was in charge, like always. But while she was busy making her big scene, something was creeping closer, something she didn't see coming. I didn't know the whole story yet either, but I could feel it. The air felt funny, like when you know a storm's about to hit. My movie kept playing. The hero was fighting some bad guys now, but I couldn't focus on it. Karen's voice was in my ears, and that smirk on her face was starting to bug me. Why was she so sure she'd win? Why was she so happy to ruin my night? I didn't get it. Not yet. Here's where it gets good, though. Karen thought she was the one calling the shots, but she didn't know the real trouble was already knocking on her door. Not my door, hers. Something was about to happen that would flip this whole night around, and she had no clue. I didn't either, not totally, but I could sense it. My friends could too. Tara nudged me and said, "What's she gonna do when the cops get here?" I shrugged. "I don't know," I said. "It's not even loud enough for them to care." But then I wondered, what if the cops weren't coming for me at all? What if they were coming for something else? Or someone else? So, what do you think was heading Karen's way? Any ideas? This is where the story starts to get super exciting, and I can't wait to tell you what happens next. Karen was all smug, thinking she'd caught me breaking the rules, but she was about to find out she wasn't as smart as she thought. Stick with me, because this is going to be a wild ride. Okay, so things were getting crazy now. The movie was still playing on my backyard screen. The hero was jumping off buildings and dodging bullets, but I couldn't pay attention to it anymore. My eyes were stuck on Karen. She was pacing back and forth by her house, her flip-flops slapping the ground, yelling into her phone like she was the star of her own big show. "Yes, officer," she shouted. "It's an emergency. There's a disturbance." Her voice was so loud, I'm pretty sure the whole neighborhood could hear her. She waved her arms around, pointing at my movie screen like it was the worst thing she'd ever seen. My friends thought it was funny. Mike, who was sitting next to me with a handful of chips, laughed and said, "She's acting like your movie's a monster attacking her." Tara giggled too, covering her mouth with her hand. Sam just shook his head and popped some popcorn in his mouth. They weren't worried at all. They thought Karen was being silly, and maybe she'd give up soon. But me? I wasn't so sure. Something felt off, like when you hear a weird noise at night and don't know what it is. I kept watching her, trying to figure out what she'd do next. Then, I saw something strange. Really strange. A police car rolled up the street super quiet, no sirens, no flashing lights, just creeping along like a cat sneaking through the grass. That's not normal, right? Usually, when cops come, you hear them from a mile away, wee-oh-oh, wee-oh-oh. But this car was silent. It didn't stop at my house, either. Nope. It pulled right up in front of Karen's perfect little house, the one with the white fence and the flowers she's always bragging about. The car parked there, and I felt my stomach do a little flip. What was going on? I nudged Mike with my elbow. "Hey," I whispered, "look at that." "What's that about?" He turned his head, still chewing his chips, and squinted at the car. "Dunno," he said with a shrug. "Maybe they're lost. But I didn't think so. Two officers stepped out of the car, and they didn't look lost at all. They looked serious, like when your teacher catches you passing notes in class and you know you're in trouble. They had their hats on, their hands on their belts, and they were staring right at Karen's house. My heart started beating a little faster. Something was up. Karen didn't see them, though. Not even a little bit. She was too busy glaring at me, her eyes like lasers trying to burn a hole through my movie screen. She was still on the phone, talking fast. "Yes, it's ruining everything," she said. "You need to come quick." She didn't notice the cops standing just a few steps away from her perfect lawn. She was so caught up in being mad at me that she missed the real action happening right behind her. It was almost funny, but I was too curious to laugh. Every second that passed, the air felt heavier, like when a big storm's coming and you can feel it in your bones. My friends were still watching the movie, but I couldn't. My eyes kept bouncing between Karen and that police car. What were those officers doing here? Why weren't they coming to my yard? Karen was the one calling them about me, right? So why were they at her house? I leaned forward in my chair, trying to figure it out. The movie sound faded into the background, some car chase music, but all I could hear was my own brain asking questions. Mike noticed me staring. "What's wrong, Jake?" he asked, his mouth full of chips. "You look like you saw a ghost." I pointed at the cop car. "Look," I said. "They're not here for us. They're over there." Tara turned her head too, and her eyes got big. "Whoa," she said. "That's weird." Sam just munched his popcorn and said, "Maybe Karen's in trouble." He said it like a joke, but I started to wonder. What if he was right? What if something big was brewing, and Karen didn't even know it? Karen kept pacing, her phone glued to her ear. "Yes, it's an emergency," she said again. "Hurry up." She sounded so sure of herself, like she was the queen of the world and I was the bad guy she was about to catch. But those cops weren't moving toward my yard. They were standing by her driveway, talking to each other in low voices. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but they kept looking at her house. One of them pulled out a little notebook and started writing something down. My curiosity was growing bigger and bigger. What do you think they were there for? Any guesses? I tried to stay calm, but my mind was racing. Karen thought she was winning. She thought the police were coming to shut down my movie night and tell me I was wrong. But what if it was something else? What if she was the one in hot water? I mean, she's always bossing people around, right? Maybe someone got tired of it. Maybe she'd done something sneaky, and now it was catching up with her. I didn't know yet, but I could feel the excitement bubbling up inside me. This night was turning into something way more interesting than just a movie. The air felt thick now, like it was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. My friends were starting to pay attention too. Tara whispered, "Jake, this is getting wild." Mike nodded and said, "Yeah, what's with the cops?" Sam just kept eating, but even he was sneaking peeks at Karen's house. We were all wondering the same thing: why were those officers here? And why didn't Karen see them? She was still yelling into her phone, her back to the street, totally clueless. It was like watching a show where the bad guy doesn't know the good guys are sneaking up behind them. I couldn't help it. I started imagining all kinds of things. Maybe Karen had broken a rule. Maybe she'd been mean to the wrong person. Maybe someone had called the cops on her, and she didn't even realize it. Every little move the officers made got me more curious. One of them adjusted his hat. The other one looked at the house number, then back at his notebook. They were getting ready for something, I could tell. But what? My movie night was supposed to be simple, just snacks and a fun flick, but now it felt like I was in the middle of a mystery. So, what do you think the cops were there for? Were they about to surprise Karen? Was something big about to happen? I didn't know yet, but I could feel it coming, like when you're on a roller coaster and you're almost at the top. My heart was thumping, and I couldn't wait to see what happened next. Karen thought she was in control, but she had no idea what was sneaking up on her. Stick with me, this story's about to get even better. Okay, here we go. This is where everything gets super exciting. The movie on my screen hit a quiet part, like the hero was sneaking around, and that's when it happened. The two police officers I'd been watching started walking right up to Karen. She was still pacing by her house, holding her phone to her ear, yelling about my movie night. She didn't even see them coming. One of the cops, the taller one with the serious face, stepped forward and said, "Ma'am, are you Karen Thompson?" His voice was loud and clear, like a teacher calling your name in class. Karen stopped moving. She froze, like someone had pressed pause on her. Her phone was still stuck to her ear, but she wasn't talking anymore. She turned her head real slow, and looked at the officers. "Yes," she said, her voice all shaky now. "Why?" She didn't sound like the bossy Karen anymore. She sounded confused, maybe even a little scared. The officer didn't smile. He stood up straight and said, "We've got a warrant for your arrest." "A warrant? That's like a special paper that says the police can take you away if you've done something wrong." My eyes got huge. "Arrest Karen." The officer kept going, and this is where it got wild. "It's for noise complaints, harassment, and oh yeah, those fake HOA fines you've been pocketing." What? I couldn't believe my ears. My jaw dropped, like, my mouth just fell open, and I stared at them. My friends went nuts. Mike jumped up from his chair and yelled, "Yes." Tara clapped her hands and laughed so loud it echoed. Sam, who was still holding popcorn, just shouted, "Whoa, no way." We were all freaking out, but in a good way. Karen's face? It turned white, like all the color ran away from her. She looked like a ghost standing there. The cops didn't wait for her to say anything. They pulled out handcuffs, those shiny metal bracelets they put on people who break the law. One officer held them up, and I heard a little click as they got ready. Turns out, Karen was the real troublemaker all along. Not me with my movie screen, her. All those times she'd bossed us around, pointing her rulebook at everyone, she'd been the one doing bad stuff. She'd been breaking rules left and right, and we didn't even know it. Can you believe that? Karen's eyes got big, and she finally dropped her phone. It hit the grass with a thud. "Wait," she yelled, her voice all high and squeaky. "This is a mistake. You've got the wrong person." But the officers didn't look like they thought it was a mistake. The tall one shook his head and said, "No mistake, ma'am. We've got proof." The other cop stepped closer, and click click, the handcuffs went right on her wrists. She tried to pull away, but they held her arms tight. She wasn't going anywhere. I couldn't stop staring. My movie night was supposed to be about watching a hero catch bad guys, but now it was happening in real life. Karen, the lady who'd been so mean to everyone, was the bad guy all along. Those fake HOA fines the cop talked about? That means she'd been making us pay money for stuff that wasn't even real, like telling us we broke rules she made up, then keeping the cash for herself. And noise complaints? Harassment. That's when you bug people too much or make their lives hard. She'd done all of that, and now she was caught. My friends were still cheering. Mike pumped his fist in the air and said, "Take that, Karen." Tara was laughing so hard she almost fell off her chair. Sam grinned and tossed a piece of popcorn up, catching it in his mouth like it was a victory snack. I just stood there, my heart pounding, watching it all go down. The movie kept playing behind us, but nobody cared about it anymore. This was way better than any action flick. Who saw this coming? Not Karen, that's for sure. She thought she was the one calling the cops on me, but they were already here for her. Karen kept yelling as the cops held her. "This isn't fair," she cried. "I didn't do anything wrong." But the officers didn't listen. They started walking her toward the police car, one on each side of her. Her flip-flops dragged on the ground, and she kept turning her head to look at me, like I had something to do with it. I didn't. I was just as shocked as she was. Well, maybe not as shocked. She looked like she might faint. Her perfect little world was falling apart, and she couldn't stop it. I started thinking about all the times she'd been mean to us. Like when she told Sam he couldn't have a barbecue because of her flowers. Or when she made Tara pay a fine for parking her bike on the grass for 5 minutes. All those times she acted like she was better than everyone, waving that rulebook around. She'd been hiding her own secrets. She wasn't the perfect neighbor she pretended to be. She was a sneak, and now everybody knew it. The cops got to the car and opened the back door. Karen was still talking, fast and loud. "You don't understand," she said. "I'm in charge here. I make the rules." The tall officer just said, "Not anymore, ma'am." Then they helped her into the car. Well, help might be nice. They kind of pushed her in, because she didn't want to go. The door shut with a bang, and there she was, sitting in the back of a police car, her hands stuck in those cuffs. My buddies cheered again, louder this time. It felt like we just won a big game. I couldn't help it, I smiled. Karen had come over to ruin my night, but now her night was ruined instead. All because she couldn't leave me alone. Who would have guessed? Not her, that's for sure. She thought she was so smart, calling 911 on me, smirking like she'd won. But the joke was on her. The cops weren't here for my movie, they were here for her sneaky tricks. It was like a big twist in a story, the kind that makes you gasp and say, no way. So, what do you think? Did you see that coming? I sure didn't, not until those cops showed up. Karen's face, all white and scared, was something I'd never forget. My movie night had turned into the best show ever, and it wasn't even on the screen. Stick around, because there's more to tell. This wild night wasn't over yet. So, there we were, Karen was caught, and the cops were walking her to their car. My movie night, which she'd tried to ruin, turned into a big party instead. The officers held her arms as she dragged her feet, still yelling about how it was all a mistake. But nobody listened to her anymore. The car door shut with a loud thump, and just like that, she was gone, sitting in the back with those shiny handcuffs on. My friends and I couldn't believe it. We went from being quiet and shocked to cheering and laughing like we just won a prize. All around the neighborhood, people started peeking out of their houses. Curtains moved, doors cracked open, and I could see faces looking out, trying to figure out what was happening. Neighbors started whispering to each other, pointing at Karen in the police car. They were piecing it all together, just like we were. Turns out, Karen had been scamming us for months, maybe even longer. She'd been making up fake fees, telling us we had to pay money for silly little things, like if our grass was too long or our bikes were in the wrong spot. And if anyone asked questions or said no, she'd get mad and threaten them with her rule book. But now we knew the truth: she'd been keeping that money for herself. She wasn't the boss she pretended to be, she was a sneak. With Karen gone, it felt like a big weight lifted off our neighborhood. The HOA, that group she ruled like a queen, was free from her now. No more fake rules, no more yelling, no more mean stares over the fence. I looked at my friends, and we all smiled. She's outta here, Mike said, pumping his fist. Tara nodded and said, good riddance. Sam just grinned and grabbed more popcorn. We were happy, really happy. I turned the movie back up a little louder now that I didn't have to worry about Karen. On the screen, the hero was fighting the bad guy, kicking and punching until bam, the bad guy went down. We all laughed because it felt so perfect. In the movie, the hero won, and in real life, we just watched Karen lose. How cool is that? The police car started its engine and rolled away, taking Karen with it. The red taillights disappeared down the street, and the night got quiet again except for our movie and our laughing. My backyard felt like a party spot now. We didn't care about the snacks getting cold or the chairs being a little wobbly. We were too excited. Neighbors started coming out more, walking over to my fence to talk. Did she really get arrested? One asked. Yep, I said. For scamming us. Another neighbor, an older lady with a big smile, said, I knew she was trouble. We all nodded, swapping stories about the times Karen had been mean or bossy. It was like everyone had been waiting for this moment. The next day, something even crazier happened. People started thanking me, Jake, the movie guy. I was just walking to my mailbox when a couple of neighbors stopped me. Jake, one guy said, you're the hero around here now. I laughed and said, what? No way. But he kept going. That movie night of yours, it accidentally showed everyone what Karen was up to. The old lady from last night patted my arm and said, we owe you, kid. I scratched my head, feeling a little shy. All I'd done was set up a screen and some chairs, but somehow, that made Karen's secrets come out. Who knew my movie screen was good for more than just watching films? It was like a superhero gadget that caught the bad guy without me even trying. By the end of the day, the whole neighborhood felt different, lighter, happier. No more worrying about Karen's fake fines or her loud complaints. We could have barbecues, park our bikes wherever, and yet watch movies outside without her storming over. My friends and I kept talking about it, laughing at how wild it all turned out. That movie night didn't just give us a fun time, it gave us freedom. And you know what? It felt awesome. Justice was served, and we all got to celebrate it together. What a night! Alright, friends, that's the whole story. Can you believe it? One nosy Karen, one simple movie night, and a huge twist that nobody saw coming, not even me. It started with me just wanting to watch a fun movie with my buddies, eating popcorn under the stars. But it turned into something way bigger, a night where the loudest complainer got caught and the quiet guy with the snacks ended up on top. It's wild how things work out sometimes, right? Think about it. Karen was the loudest person around. She yelled, she pointed, she waved her rulebook like she owned the whole neighborhood. She acted like she was perfect, like she could tell everyone what to do. But all that time, she was hiding the dirtiest secrets. She was sneaking money from us, making up fake rules, and being mean just because she could. She thought she'd win by calling the cops on me, but instead, she got caught in her own mess. It's funny how the loudest ones can be the sneakiest too. Have you ever met someone like that? Someone who talks big but isn't as good as they pretend? Then there's me, just Jake, the guy with the popcorn and the movie screen. I didn't want any trouble. I wasn't loud or bossy. I just wanted to have a good time with my friends. I stayed quiet, kept things simple, and didn't fight back when Karen came yelling. But in the end, I didn't have to. The truth came out all by itself, and I ended up winning the day without even trying. Sometimes, the quiet ones, the ones who don't make a fuss, come out stronger. It's like they've got a secret power nobody sees until it's time. Pretty cool, huh? So, what's the big lesson here? It's something my mom used to say: don't judge a book by its cover. That means don't decide what someone's like just by looking at them or hearing them shout. Karen looked like she was in charge, but she was a sneak. I looked like just a regular guy, but my movie night changed everything. The real story, the good stuff, hides inside, and it might surprise you when it pops out. Next time you see someone acting big and loud, or someone quiet and chill, think twice. You never know what's really going on until the truth shows up. What about you? Have you ever had a Karen moment in your life? Maybe a time when someone tried to boss you around or ruin your fun, but things turned out okay or even better anyway. I'd love to hear your stories. Drop them in the comments below, because I bet you've got some good ones. We can laugh about them together. And if you like this crazy tale, stick around, I've got more fun stories to tell. Life's full of twists, and I'm here to share them with you. This whole night taught me something big. You don't have to be loud or mean to win. You can just be yourself, popcorn and all, and still come out on top. It's not about fighting or shouting, it's about doing your thing and letting the truth do the rest. That makes me feel strong, like I can handle anything, even a nosy neighbor like Karen. And you know what? You can too. No matter who's trying to bug you, keep being you. The real story always finds a way to shine. So, there you have it, one wild night, one big lesson, and a happy ending. It's proof that even the smallest things, like a movie screen in the backyard, can turn into something amazing. Keep your eyes open, because surprises are everywhere. What do you think about that? Let me know, and let's keep the fun going with more tales. You're awesome for reading this. Thanks for hanging out with me.